This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so today's topic, right? We're going to talk about time travel. Okay, please let me know if you guys see the screen properly. Okay, if you have any challenges, please let me know. So before getting into this time travel, right? I want to mention a little bit more something about how the data is stored in Snowflake. Okay, and then whenever we have guys, you're able to hear me and follow me, right?
Yes,
Yeah, because I'm using a new Chromebook laptop, so sometimes it acts very funny. You guys need to talk to me, please. And then if you cannot hear me, right, just upfront let me know so that I can correct myself. Okay.
yes, sir.
So whenever you store the data, right, where is the data get stored in Snowflake?
In S3 buckets.
Yeah. So are those S3 buckets visible to us?
No, we need to write fire the query on top of this.
Yeah, so the we cannot access the S3 buckets, only Snowflake can access it. It's their IP address, we cannot. Okay, so we can just use it as a table because we are talking about table and we can read it. But whenever you load the data, automatically goes and sits into S3 buckets. So we have looked at the characteristics of S3 buckets, right? We have seen the durability and the availability 11 nines and 4 nines kind of thing. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. Europe.
Yeah. So whenever you store the data in S3 buckets, right, Snowflake goes and stores as part of it, stores as a micro partition. So data gets stored as partitions. The data is divided into partitions, but this is a micro partition. That means you will have a huge file and then chunk of data will be stored as a micro partition. That means, for example, if you have about 1 million records that you are trying to ingest into a table or load into a table or insert into a table, what it does is, right, it takes 16 MB compressed, about 2 million records. Normally, in the definition, they say 50 MB to 500 MB uncompressed data is part of a micro partition. I'm going to repeat that 50 MB to 500 MB uncompressed data. When you compress it, right, it might come down to a very bigger number, but the max compressed data that can house in a particular micro partition is 16 MB. How much? 16 MB. If you are trying to load a JSON, right, and then the JSON, how much is the max per row JSON that you can store in a particular record?
16 MB.
So now you are able to correlate, right? One micro partition can have 16 MB compressed max. So 16 MB is on an average about 2 million rows or something. So it varies by number of columns that you have in your table or the variant data type and all this stuff. So normally 16 MB compressed, but in theory, if somebody asks you, you have to tell them 50 to 500 MB uncompressed because you cannot know the compression unless until you compress and load the data into it, right? Theoretically speaking, 50 MB to 500 MB uncompressed data will sit in a micro partition. So this micro partition, right? So that means if you have about 10 million records, you will have many micro partitions and it depends on the number of columns. If you have about 300 columns in a table and the number of micro partitions will vary. So these micro partitions, whenever you create a table, right, and then insert data into table, the micro partitions are created on the fly. The moment when you're trying to load the data, it automatically sorts the data that you're trying to load and then creates a micro partition. We have a chapter called performance. I'll go in detail and explain you because this is a very important topic in Snowflake. Okay, but I'm giving you a highlight of what it is. So whenever you have inserted some data and then you updated some data, what happens? to the data. So the micro partitions which are part of a file, they're unmutable. That means they cannot be modified. Whenever you update something, you go and then recreate a micro partition.
Okay.
So you will create a micro partition, you will create a file of a different version with a different micro partition in it, with the updated data. Are you able to follow me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Clear
whenever the
cut.
data gets whenever the data gets modified or deleted, any DML activity happens on the data set that you are trying to do on a table, the underlying micro partition gets modified. It gets new micro partition. If you have deleted 500 records, right, it goes and sorts out and creates new micro partitions again. Okay. When we get into the performance, I'll explain you much more detail and deeper so that you'll have a clear clarity. If you don't have anything, if you're confused, just ask me the questions, I can answer you. But the data that you're storing, which is part of a table, will be placed in a micro partition. If you have 100 million records, you'll have n number of micro partitions. Okay. And then you can see the micro partition whenever you query the table. If you go to the query history and look at the user profile and the profile part of the query, right, you'll get to know the micro partition part of it. Okay, I'll show you an example of how what are the micro partitions and all this stuff. So, what if you are gonna do 10 times? That means when you update a table 10 times, what happens to micro partitions? Are the revisions of the file. You will have 10 revisions of the file. If you have 100,000 micro updations, it keeps on updating the version of the file, because every time you do, that is we looked at S3, right? That means whenever you create a bucket or a file in S3, it has to be replaced or it has to be versioned, right? So whenever you keep on updating, it keeps on adding versions to it. Am I able to follow? Are you able to follow me?
Yes.
So for a 10 o'clock, you have a big table and you have inserted some records, and these are the number of micro partitions that you have in the S3 bucket. Sorry, in the file. Each table will have a file, will which each that particular file will be versioned, and in that particular file you will have many multiple micro partitions written in the file, and whenever you modify them, the new version of the file will get created, and these are the files at 10 o'clock. These are the micro partitions in that particular file at 10 o'clock, and that T0 and T1 you updated three columns, some let's say about 100 records, so those micro partition gets changed. The file is will have a newer version, but only the modified micro partitions will be the other remaining thing will be copied onto the same version, same file. You will have three new micro partitions. Okay, and then the other micro partitions we did not change will still be copied onto the new version of the file. And T2 you made some more updates. Let's say T0 is the original table that you have already inserted some data into it, and T1 you updated some records, T2 you deleted some records. That means you have done some actions on it, because of which new micro partition got created or some micro partitions got updated. That means always new micro partitions cannot be modified. You have to create a new set, and then that's part of a new version of the file. So you have all these data sets, right? So Snowflake by default gives you the capability of storing the versioned files with you. That means you, so by default will give you 24 hours of all the files that you have modified. That means whenever you have done the modifications, right, it keeps on adding the different versions of the file, and all the different versions of the file are available to you for 24 hours, right? That means if you want to see what happened at 10 o'clock, you can go back and query your data set at 10 o'clock, the query your table at 10 o'clock, which gives you the snapshot of that particular table at that particular point of time. How can that be possible? Because at 10 o'clock, it knows what is the version of the file. In its metadata, it knows the version of the file, and then using the version of the file, it goes and then looks at the version of the file, and then it gets you from that particular data. But if you want to look at 10 o'clock, the SQL construct is different. That means the syntax of the SQL is different. Select star from my table at before. And so I'll show you the examples as well. But you can at a particular timestamp before a particular query ID, and there is another third one is called offset, minus 300 seconds, minus 500 seconds, minus 10,000 seconds. You can go back and at that particular point of time you can query what is this particular table, and that is possible because you are having the revisioned files with you. Snowflake gives you a revisioned files with you. Are you able to follow me?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Okay. And there are different applications of time travel. You can clone a database. You can, that means when the next topic is cloning, I'll tell you, but it's kind of two dependent topics, right? So we'll talk about cloning in next chapter. Here we are trying to go back to the time and then look at the snapshot of the table. For example, at 10 o'clock somebody deleted all this stuff and left only three micro partitions. This is T0. This has this many number of records in each part. For example, this many number of partitions that you think that there are about 50 million records. And at T1, somebody deleted about 46 million records. And you have only 4 million records. You can go back at 10 o'clock and query the data 40 million records and create a temporary table out of it, or create a clone table out of it, and then you can recover the data. This time travel works as a backup and recovery mechanism for you. At 10 o'clock there was a table, somebody dropped a table at, at 11 o'clock, and then you identified at 12 o'clock. You can go back and you can undrop the table. Opposite of drop is undrop. Undrop is there in Snowflake, where if you drop a table, if you say undrop, it recovers the table back, it retrieves the table back. You will have the entire data set for you. Okay, so that can be used, queried using SQL commands at, before, offset, and we'll see all of them in detail. So now we are able to get the gist of what time travel, how time travel works, right? If you have any questions, I can answer you. So this is the beauty of storing in S3 buckets. So this Snowflake didn't do anything. Snowflake keeps your files for a certain period of time, and you can go back and query that particular, because you have all the different versions of the S3 buckets, and then you can go back to at any particular point of time, and then you can query the data. But if you want to keep this for 24 hours, all the different files, you're gonna pay extra for the storage, because it has to keep all the files for you, right? That means there is storage. Apart from the data that is sitting in your table, it has to keep the older versions of the files. And older versions for the files by default is 24 hours. It keeps 24 hours of files with you. That means 24 hours worth of time travel you can do. And if you want to do more than that, even for 24 hours, you have to pay. You are charged for it. Are you able to follow me, guys? Okay, 1 second, guys. So this is a Chromebook. Uh, this is my office laptop, and I cannot use the other laptop because I am isolation, right? My kids are using it. I cannot use that. So I'm just using it. You have to bear with me for a while. And it doesn't store any of the history. My office laptop, right? Whenever you close the laptop and open it, everything is gone. So and I cannot bookmark anything. Even if I bookmark, everything will be gone. Even if I bookmark, next time when I open it, right, it's gone. So let me go ahead and then, if you look at this particular store sales table, right? Let me use the store sales table, which has too much data in it. Select star from. I'll say limit 10. It's a huge table, right? 299 billion table. It takes a lot of time to fetch the data for us. So I have a date where, can you see the name of this particular field? Can you see this? What is this name of the field?
It is surrogate key. That is
Yeah. Yes,
surrogate key.
but it's a date, right? And is it in a date format?
No,
So what kind of date format is this?
Yes, Sekhar, this is kind of epoch time.
Yeah, epoch date. So guys, whomever doesn't know this, right? Epoch date is the format from which they calculate the minutes, seconds, milliseconds, everything from 1970 January 1st. From there they calculate the date in a number format. Okay, so some of the databases are very good in numbers, so they store this data in this particular pattern. So there is it's called EPOC epoch date. Okay, you just remember it because some people follow it, and I have students who when they are trying to migrate from different sources, they have epoch dates. When they get into Snowflake, they don't properly get mapped, and then they'll run into issues, and they were getting some future dates rather than the previous dates. So I helped them out, but you remember this is an epoch date. So when you look at this particular query, right, now we got the data in 50 seconds. So let's go to the history. Okay, and this is the query that we ran, and I'm going to the query profile. Can you see this, right? Table scan. See partitions total. Can you see the number of partitions here? 721K partition. That means the total 299 billion records, 300 billion records are stored in 721.768 partitions. So I don't have a calculator here. This doesn't help me with the calculator part of it anyway. So these are the number of partitions, total number of partitions. And when I gave a query, right, it scanned 219 partitions to get me this particular data set. For a particular date, 219 partitions. Okay. And how many records are there here? So 85 hundreds, thousands, 10,000, hundred thousands, millions. So 85 million records are part of one particular date. Think that this is one single date. It has about 85 million records of that particular date. Okay. So now I'm going to create a table out of this particular thing. I'll say limit 100K, 1000, 10,000, 100,000. Okay. Okay. Store sales. I got a similar table that created in which particular database? This is my database SFDB. I have a table now. I'm just trying to create a database table out of the sample storage database. I have so this particular store sales is a read-only table from SFT 100 TCL schema and the database Snowflake sample data. So if I go on then query this particular select top 100 star from. So this is another way of querying data to get all the top 100 queries. It automatically so gives me the particular store sales. So now the top means give me the top 100 queries. That is similar to limit, but here top means it sorts the data. Limit writing that select star from this table, limit 100 order by something, some column. So when you don't say anything star, it identifies an automatic column and then it sorts the data. I don't know which particular column it chooses, but it sorts the data. Or if you want to use for example sold date time sk, right? So I'll say, see it sorted 332. It might be a character, so you have a different things. If it's a number, right, it starts based on order based on number. Okay? It's just another example for you to show. Okay, so when we go into this particular history and then look at this, right? So Guys, can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, I had a power outage and then normally it comes back, but the GoToMeeting else select star from profile. Plan is not available. Oh, the heck is this? Something happened here, guys. One second. Let me query that again. So this is my table.
Sir, we
SFDB,
can't
SF.
see your screen.
Oh, hold on. Maybe I'm not sharing it. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, yes, yes.
So we have what? How many partitions do we have now? Just can you see the partitions? Total number of partitions.
8 is 8.
Hmm? 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 divided by 8. Roughly about how many? 12, 12,500 records per partition, right? We have 8 partition means this many number of records are in one particular micro partition. The partition is nothing but a micro partition. Okay. So now let me go ahead and update this particular thing. Okay. What do you want me to update? Any column that I can update here? Item is item quantity. Yeah, I'll just update the quantity by double. Okay. So update store sales set ss underscore QUAN ss quantity equal to ss. It might have a column name. Start to. Okay, I have updated it, right? So now I'll go to the history part of it. See, how many partitions are now? What is the query here? I did not forget that. Select star. So it got it only from one particular thing. So this is not the one that we are looking. So it just query total partitions. Now it got whenever you modified it, updated it, right? it has set the entire thing into one particular partition. I'm kind of surprised. We had 8 before, right? And whenever I updated the entire thing, now it moved the entire thing into one partition. I don't know. Whenever I see this, let me go ahead and query this table one more time. Select star from store sales. Okay, history. This is the one. Select star from, right? See, only one partition. So the moment we updated it, right, into the quantity, it reshuffled the entire partition. Previously, when the moment when we created, we had 8 partitions. When we updated, because normally it can house too much of data, 2 million records in 16 MB, one partition can house on an average, but that is not true. I'm just giving you a rough figure: 2 million, 1.8 million, 2.2 million, 2.6 million, depends upon the number of columns. So now it moved the entire thing into one particular partition. Okay, if you go, so that means whenever you do a DML activity, right, the number of partition gets changed. And now if you want to query, guys, can you hold on for a minute, please? Yeah, sorry guys, I had a call. So, and then now I'm going to insert this table, right? I'm going to insert few more records. So that means if I want to go back and get the quantity of this particular data set, can I get back this quantity now? The previous quantity, which was not updated before. Can I get it? Yes, are you able to follow me, right?
Yeah, we can get it.
So, so this update statement, right? When did we run this update statement? If you go and look at this particular history, we'll get to know when the update statement was run. Update source will be the one, right? 3.8 MB. I think this is the one. And what time did we run? 5:32:02 and time 5:35. We'll do one thing. Select star from store sales where SS customer. We might have many records for this customer as well. So this money and the quantity, where is the quantity? So the quantity is 28, 28, 20. Previously it should be, so I want to look at the previous part of it. Okay. Select star from the same thing. What time is it right now? Select current underscore timestamp. So it's 5:18. So when did we query this? 4:43. When did we do the update? 5:18, 5:43. And this is a different time. This is in, I think it's in PST. 5:18. This is 5:43, right? So we'll talk. So there is a different small change because in your account, whenever you set up by default, it points to PST time zone, and if I want to get the PST time zone, I have to do another things. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'll try to see at. I forgot the syntax. Hold on, guys, 1 second. At offset, this is the one. I did not do anything wrong here. Select star from sources at offset. It, I cannot do like this. Hold on. Where is the quantity? Still 77. I'm looking at minus 500 seconds. Twenty-eight. Can you see this 14 now? So I moved back. I went to a particular uh, timestamp or offset before this many number of seconds, and I'm able to query the snapshot of the table which had 17. So instead of this one, I can query the whole thing. So I have to run this one more time. See, this is the snapshot of that particular table before 700 seconds, and the quantity is 14. Can you see this? Guys, are you able to follow me now? Any questions? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. No questions as of now.
So now I have spoken to you about time travel and all this stuff, right? So what is the advantage of time travel? So if you look at this particular, one second. Okay, system is a little slow. Hold on, guys. Okay, so time travel normally helps you to enable to access the historical data, whatever the modified or dropped or deleted any of these particular things. Advantage: objects can be restored, which were deleted or dropped. Data analyzation during particular period, so you can go back, query a table for a particular month, and then before month, and you can compare both the months of data and see if you want to do any modeling statistical analysis on the table, you can do that. And if you want to make a snapshot of that particular timestamp and make a duplication of it, keep it somewhere else, you can do that. So data duplication if needed at a particular period of time, if you want to make a copy of it. So time travel helps you to continuous data production. That means if you lose your data as well, you can recover your data. And then these are the constructs, right? So you have time travel. This is the current data set. That means you have a table and you can do a time travel. This is the SQL constructs at, before, and you can clone or undrop as well. The cloning we'll see later. Undrop, we are going to do an exercise on that. We'll see that. And then so there is an other thing called failsafe. After the time travel, right? There is another thing where Snowflake keeps the data for 7 days. So for example, your default time travel is about 24 hours. After 24 hours, the data gets moved into another zone called failsafe. In that failsafe, you cannot query, you cannot do anything. You have to raise a request to Snowflake, and Snowflake will query the data and get you the data back. This is an other fallback option, one more insurance kind of thing for you. So, for example, you have a table, and the default time travel for the table is 24 hours, and you identified that the data has been deleted after 24 hours. And if you want to retrieve the data, there is another area called failsafe, and Snowflake stores this particular data for 7 days in that particular failsafe. So you can go and retrieve the data, but you cannot retrieve if it's in your time travel zone. Then you can query for yourself and retrieve. But it is in failsafe, then you have to raise a request, raise a ticket to Snowflake, and they will retrieve it for you. That is called failsafe. We're going to talk about it, okay? And then what is the next one?
Shekhar sir, I have a question here. For 24 hours, is it chargeable or
Yes, yes, yes. It's chargeable. You have to pay for this 24 hours as well.
okay? If we don't want, we can suppress it at the while we creating the table or any object, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
We'll go there. Hold on. Well, let me finish this
sure,
particular thing. Yeah. Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, guys, can you hear me now? Sorry. Normally, automatically, whenever you connect back, right, the GoToMeeting should connect back me, but there is some issue with the Chromebook, and then somebody needs to make me a presenter. Who is the presenter right now? Can you see who is the presenter now? Sindhu is the presenter. I have to ask her to make me a presenter again one more time. Sindhu, can you hear me? Let me call her. Okay. Sindhu, can you make me a presenter, please? Okay. Okay. She's making me a presenter, guys. So now you have seen how time travel works, right? So there is an important, let's go and talk about the theory part of it. So whenever you do a DML activity, the number of micropartition gets changed, and then you will have a different version of the file, and you can query back. By default, it's 24 hours. Let me show you that once. Please, can you hear me, please? Can you hear me, guys? Shh. Yes. Can all of you hear me? Please say yes or no. So can I proceed further?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, boss.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. Coming back, right? So now there is another parameter called data retention time, data retention period. The standard retention period is 1 day or 24 hours. Retention period can be set to 0. If you don't want any time travel on a particular table or a schema or a database, you can set it to 0. And this particular parameter is on the account level or on the database level or on the schema level or on the table level. Database, schema, table. If you set it to 0, time travel is disabled. You cannot do any time travel. You cannot query using this time travel construct. It fails for you. So enterprise edition and higher, data retention period can set to 0. So for standard edition, you can do only time travel of 24 hours. That is the standard. If you are trying to go, see, so standard edition, right? 1 day of time travel. Can you see here? And from enterprise onwards, up to 90 days of time travel. You can set your time travel to 7 days. You can set your time travel to 30 days. You can set your time travel to 90 days. Okay. Normally, because there are a lot of storage charges. If you put it for 90 days, whatever the data that is lying in your table plus 90 days of storage, that will be calculated averagely and you'll be paying 90 days of extra charges. So in a production environment, I'll tell you because each environment might be different. In my environment, we have some financial data. That means the quarterly returns are published, right? And our company publishes the quarterly returns, and the that means you have the financial data sitting in a table, right? There are some tables. There are about 27 tables or 33 tables or something. I don't exactly remember the number of tables. Those tables data we store it for 90 days. All the other remaining will we have some more sensitive data. And again, what see, I work from the enterprise point of view. I am not a functional guy. If there are some financial domain, right, financial department, and they'll tell us we need the data for these tables for 7 days and we are ready to pay for it. So most of the scenarios what I've seen is, right, 90 days for some very crucial sensitive data, and then we had about some 40 to 50 tables with 7 days of time travel, and everything else is only 1 day. And we talked about tables, right? Do you remember table? We talked about different types of tables. Do you remember that? How many types of tables are there? Did we talk about table creation?
Yeah, temporary, transient, and
Temporary, transient, and permanent table. So permanent table, you will have the if you don't mention anything, by default it's 24 hours, and you can create a table with 30 days of time travel, or that is called data retention period in number of days. You can have 30 days of data retention period, you can have 90 days of retention period, but again it depends upon the edition. If you are working in standard edition, you cannot have 30 days, you can have only 1 day. And if you create a permanent table, by default it will have 24 hours. That means 1 day of time travel. You don't need to mention anything. Create table name, that's it. It will have 1 day of. And if you want to disable the time travel, you have to set up the data retention. There is a parameter, I'll show you. If you set it to 0, then you cannot do any time travel on that. Okay, so what is the basic edition that has 90 days of time travel? I'm asking you a question. What is the basic edition that has 90 days of time travel?
Enterprise and
Yes.
enterprise.
Basic
Yes.
edition is enterprise. And after that, that's a different story. What is the time travel for a standard edition?
Max, it will be 1 day.
1 day. And then what is the default time travel?
Default will be 1 day or 24 hours. That can be
Yes,
disabled or increased
yes, yes,
for
yes, yes.
enterprise.
No, no, no. For everything, standard to all, you can have. Even in standard also, you can disable it. By standard, by default, is 1 day. And even if you want to modify in standard also, you cannot do because it's only 1 day.
Okay.
Okay. So standard retention period is 1 day. 24 is automatically enabled for all Snowflake accounts. You can set it to 0 and you can unset it back to whatever the time you want on the account level, object level, database, schemas, and tables as well. Okay. If you set it to 0, then you cannot do any time travel on there. For Snowflake Enterprise Edition and higher, it's 90 days. Or you can still set it to 0 for the Enterprise Edition as well. 0 to 90 days. And the parameters that we use is right data retention time in days. So this is the particular oops. So data retention period in this is the value that defines what is your storage. This value has a lot of importance when it comes to storage part of it. Your storage, the billing of your storage entirely depends upon this particular parameter. Data retention time in days. Okay, and this object can be used users with account admin role to set. So if you want to change for example, if you want to set 1 day for the entire account and you can bypass it later as well. So if you set it for 1 day, right, then let me show you. Show parameters on account like data percent on account level parameter. Show parameters. I forget the syntax pass. Yes, sorry, it's not like. And this is the account level parameter and data retention time in days. And what is the parameter here? Value, what is the value here? 1 day. This is the account level. That means when you create a database, right, this parameter automatically carries forward to the database as well. And the database will have a default 1 day. Table, when you create a table by default underneath the schema will have 1 day, and the table underneath that particular schema will also have 1 day, but you can bypass the table and modify it and have a different number of data number of days for a data retention pair. You can bypass at each and every level. By default is the one, and if you want to enforce it, you can create like this. By default is one, and then if you want to change it to 10 days, and whenever you create a database or schema and a table, by default it become 10 days. So you can modify this parameter as well whenever you're creating a database or schema, or if you have an account admin user privilege, you can go and change this particular parameter 7 days, So the entire account, whenever you create, by default will have 7 days. Okay. So and then so this is what data retention. So and then coming back, I'll show you an example. Okay. Create table, my table. Data retention time in days is equal to 90. That means you're trying to create a table. If you want to do it for 7 days, if you want to do it for 30 days, you can do it. And if you don't mention any of this stuff, right, then the data retention period is 24 days, 24 hours. That means 1 day. Okay, if you just create a table without no data retention time in days parameter, that is for 1 day. And this data retention period is there for temporary table as well as a transient table and permanent table. Even you can do time travel on a temporary table within this 24 hours. For transient table, you can do it for within 24 hours. And you can set the time travel for transient table more than 1 day as well. For temporary table, it's only 1 day by default because the life of the temporary table is only 1 day. Transient table is more. If you want to have a time travel on that, you can do it. But fail safe won't be there for time transient table. But time travel can be there, can be designed on, can be have you can have your time travel on transient table as well. So this is show parameters like retention in account and use role account admin. You can change alter account set data retention time in days equal to 0, alter account unset data retention. That means unset means by default it will have 1. Okay, and we have seen this, right? Select from table at, and you can give a timestamp, and it gets you the table snapshot at that particular timestamp. And for example, you created a table at 10 o'clock today, and you are trying to query the table at 9 o'clock. What happens? You have given a timestamp at 9 o'clock. What happens?
It will be created, right? Like it is less than 24 hours.
No, no, no. The object itself is not there. You created a table at 10 o'clock and then you're trying at 10 o'clock yesterday, for example. You created a table today at 10 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, you inserted about 50 carry cards. And at 12 o'clock, you are trying to do a time travel and say select star from table and you have given a timestamp at 9 o'clock. What happens when you give a timestamp at 9 o'clock?
Nothing will be there.
It will throw you an error because the object itself does not exist at 9 o'clock. The time travel can be done from the time when the object was created.
Okay.
Okay. So if you go back to this query, right? And then offset, I'm giving some 17,000 seconds or 87. Time travel data is not available for source table. The requested time is either beyond the allowed time travel period or before the object creation time. Can you see this? Whenever you are trying to do a time travel, make sure that the object exists at that particular point of time. That's what the object should have been already created at that particular point of time.
Okay.
Okay. And these are some of the examples. So we have 3 parameters for querying at a particular timestamp. Offset, we have seen this, right? Minus 700, minus 600. This is by number of seconds. Okay. Offset is by number of seconds. And then before statement, you can get the query ID, pass the query ID, it gives you the before this particular query ID. Okay. And whenever we talk about cloning, right, we'll see how to. Cloning is another part where you won't have, whenever you clone a table, right, you won't have extra storage charges. So you can clone a schema, you can clone a database, and you will not be charged for the extra storage charges. So that is the beauty of cloning. We'll talk in detail later, but for now you can clone at a particular point of time. Wherever you can create a table, I can clone a table at first. Clone, create table. Just you will use the keyword clone and the table name. And if you want to restore a dropped schema, I can clone that. You can create a dropped database, you can do that before this particular statement. These are some of the examples. And what is the parameter that helps to set up the time travel? What is the name of the parameter? Data retention time in days. You have to remember this. Data retention time in days. This is the one which sets the storage or your time travel and everything on a table or a schema or a database. Okay. Data retention time in days. Data retention time in days. And then you can undrop the table, you can undrop a schema, you can undrop the database. Drop is the regular one, opposite of table is undrop. And if you want to see the history of the undropped or the dropped objects, right, you can look at it. Show tables history. Normally we'll say show tables like and table name, right? If you say show tables history, it will show you how many times that the table has been dropped and an undropped, it recovered and all this stuff. It shows you the history of the entire table. And if the same with the schemas, same with the databases. Okay, and then the storage costs will I'll show you an example of unwrap as well. We'll do an exercise. Hold on for a minute. So let's look at the storage cost for permanent table. Time travel attention days 0 means nothing. 1 by default. Fail safe period is 7 days for permanent. The total charges is, if you set it to 0, 7 by default is 1, you'll have to pay for 8 days because 1 day of time travel is already with you, available to you, so you have to pay for 8 days of storage. If it is standard, sorry, enterprise and above, right, 97 7. If there is no time travel, 97. Transient 0 or 1. Time travel you can set it up to 0 or 1. Fail safe period 0. And so sorry, even for transient, I told you you can set up the fail safe time travel, right? No, my bad, I forgot that. So you can set only 0 1 day of time travel for transient tables. Temporary 0 or 1, only 1 day, and there is no fail safe. So transient and temporary are always transient tables much more helpful in uh, s- what do you call it, in saving the storage charges. Okay, let's do some exercises. Okay, okay, so we'll do an exercise. I'll, in the meantime, let's finish off the theory part and then let's come back to it. And then coming back to failsafe, right? Failsafe is, so normally failsafe, they have created, Snowflake has created failsafe for the recovery purposes, not for data recovery. If you're, if there is an outage of your AWS or Azure, if any of the cloud things gets outage, or then you cannot recover your database, right? So failsafe, they have created the failsafe zone to recover the entire account to your so by default, what happens, right? All the objects that you create are part of failsafe. So whenever you the AWS crashes, right, and whenever it gets restored, Snowflake by default restores the data from their copy. They have a copy because you know that, right? All the data that lies in 3 different places, and they have a disaster management where whenever one thing goes down, they get it from other two, and they have another zone called failsafe that is only accessible to Snowflake. We don't have it. That is just a backup for you whenever the AWS crashes, and if it gets restored, Snowflake also restores the entire your entire account with all databases, tables, schemas, with all the data from the failsafe zone. Okay, only the transient tables will not be recovered, and then temporary tables will not, because they don't have failsafe. All the other tables which are permanent tables, they have a failsafe and they can be restored from failsafe. And because anyway this the data is sitting in failsafe, and if you lose your data in the time travel, if you want to restore the data, you can make use of it. You can make a raise a ticket to Snowflake and then recover the data for you. And failsafe provides a non-configurable 7 days period of data. For example, you have given a table and the data retention period of that particular table is 24 hours. So after 24 hours, whatever the snapshot of the data gets moved onto failsafe, and the data will be sitting in failsafe. And then after next 24 hours, so the previous data set that is sitting will be replaced with a new data set. So in failsafe, you will have a copy of your data, one single copy of the data that is with 24 hours of snapshot, whatever the latest data set. So for example, you have 10 million records, okay, and then you have done DML activity. So you will have 24 hours of time window. After 24 hours, the current table snapshot that gets moved, so that that particular 24-hour after it's done, right, that 24-hour versions of the files are moved into your Snowflake account. That means it won't have all the versions. The latest version of your 24 hours will be moved there. Okay, and if the latest version of the 24-hour snapshot, if it has the data of, for example, you lost some data, somebody has deleted it, so you cannot do a time travel inside failsafe. Go back for look at third hour, or look at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and get me the data. No, that's not. You can restore the table that is part of your time travel. You have to make sure that means it will have the snapshot of the data in that failsafe period. Are you able to follow me? You cannot do a time travel inside failsafe. So for example, at 10 o'clock, you created an object. From 10 to 10, you have the time travel period. And after, so yesterday 10 o'clock, you created it. And today 10 o'clock, your time travel is done. Okay. And your time travel starts from today. From 10 o'clock to tomorrow 10 o'clock, you can do time travel. But the data that is part of yesterday's time travel will be moved into Snowflake failsafe. And in yesterday's failsafe, whatever the latest copy of your time travel at today's 10 o'clock, that means today 9 o'clock 59:59 or 10 o'clock, whatever the table data that you have, that particular version of the file will be moved into failsafe. So if you want to recover back, right, you can look at the old table, and if you have that data, you can recover back. You cannot do time travel inside failsafe, so it won't move the entire 24-hour worth all the files with different versions. It will move the latest version there. And it keeps for 7 days. The moment you have another other 24 hours, it moves that into failsafe. So whenever the AWS crashes, right, it recovers from that particular period of time the latest snapshot that it has in failsafe, that is recovered into your account. Guys, is it too complex? Are you able to follow me?
No, sir. Understood.
Okay. So 7 day period which historical data is recoverable by Snowflake. Only Snowflake, if crash happens, it can recover from it. Okay. Failsafe is not provided as means for accessing historical data after time travel retention period has ended. This is not provided, but anyway, Snowflake is having the data. You can raise a ticket, you can request them, they will get you the data back. It is only used by Snowflake to recover the data for you. The data, there might be a lost data damage due to extreme conditions. Okay. No user operations allowed. Data recoverable only by Snowflake. Transient no, permanent 7 days, and you will be charged for this 7 days of charge. That is the reason we say 7 or 8 days. So why is fail-safe instead of backup? Why do you need? So what is the advantage of fail-safe? Normally we have backup, right? In every database environments we create backups, we keep them and all this stuff. Anyway, here we can get back to our data. Backup is when you want to crash, if you have a crash and if you want to recover, that is one. Or the other part is right when you lose some data. If the data is lost and the table is dropped, then you can get it from the backup. So that particular backup thing can be done using our time travel. Okay. So why fail safe instead of data backup? Data corruption loss can happen with any database management system. That is true, we know that. Full and incremental backups, you have to do a full backup and incremental backup, and whenever you're trying to restore the data you have to do a full backup, and full backups normally be done every week and incremental backups every day. And first you have to apply the full backup, and then if your data is lost on Wednesday, you have to have the full backup that is done on Sunday, and then you have to apply the incremental backups from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday until then. And this is how the process. Whenever you're trying to do it in regular database environments, you have to shut down the system, no access to users, and then you have to restore. It takes a lot of time for restoration and reloading the last data. Business downtime, and you might lose some data from the data crash. So that is not the state with Snowflake. Multi-data center, redundant architecturally greatly reduce the need of traditional backup. You don't need a traditional backup. You can do a time travel. You can do 1 day, 30 days, 90 days based on your setup. You can go get your data back, and then the data is it's in 3 different places. If one goes down, you still have 2 other places, and the S3, it is the durability and availability, 99.99% availability. Then that means 0.01% chance of losing your data getting corrupted. And then you can durability, there is no corruption so availability is 99, but durability means the corruption is very 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 minimal, 11 nines. So you can be much more happy with your data backup requirements. Or and you still have to recover, you have 1 day of time travel, you can do all this data set. Or you can increase the data retention period for a particular table, you can have it for 7 days, 30 days, and whatnot. Failsafe provides an efficient, cost-effective alternative backup. This eliminates the human. So you don't need to automatically. Snowflake does all this stuff for you. Whenever there is a crash, something goes down, Snowflake instantly gets you back the data, enter it. Okay. What happened? So this is pretty much. Let's do an unwrap exercise, and then we can call it a day.
Uh,
So
Shikhar,
yeah.
Shikhar, sir, I
Mm-hmm.
have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
We know that cloning is nothing but a snapshot of a table, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a table called A, and today I have created. And what I do, as soon as it gets a day time travel, I create a clone of that object.
Mm-hmm.
So then, what will happen? Will it have another day of time travel?
We'll talk in detail when we come into the cloning part, right? Hold on your thought. We are still in time travel only. Once we talk about cloning, I'll explain you what happens, all this stuff. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So normally, whatever you can do a time travel if you create a clone, right? Until 24 hours, that is on that particular table, or when the object was created. That's it. Got it?
Okay. Okay.
So let's go back and do an exercise. So I have a table. I created a table, my sales table. Okay, and it has two columns in it: ID, number, description, worker. Create table. I don't have a database here. Already exist. Hmm. I'll create a new database. Hold on. Instead of new database, I would have created new schema. That would be much more easier. Where are we now? SFDB. I'm not able to see databases. Something strange is happening, guys. I don't remember. Yes. So I can make use of public. Hold on one second. Public schema. Create table. My table is created. I'm inserting three records: 100 electronics, 200 funny. I'm inserting three records into your table. Okay. And then drop table. I'm just dropping this table. Show tables history. If you look at it, right, I have created only time once and then I have dropped it. This is the name of the table and public, and you see, right, drop down. This is the time when the table was dropped and data retention time was 1 day for that particular table. So now I'm going to create another table, the same table name with only one column, ID number. Okay, and I insert some data into the table. So if it is select star, right, Guys, can you hear me? Yes, right. So yeah. Anyway, it's almost 1 hour 45 minutes, right? We'll take a break. This exercise we can continue tomorrow. I'll ask my power again. So the next Saturday morning we'll see. This doesn't take more couple of minutes to do the exercise. We'll do this exercise and we'll talk about cloning in detail, and then we'll continue further. Okay, Saturday morning and evening, Sunday morning and evening. I'll try to cover more. Okay. So, and if you guys are okay, right, we can have one day on Wednesday or something on what do you call it? Wednesday evening. If you want to have it in the weekdays, I'll share the PPT as well, Pradeep. We can have one day on weekdays, right? I can have it on weekday. That's all your consensus. I'll ask Sindhu to talk to you guys, and if you guys are okay on weekdays on one day or 2 days, right? Whatever the last time we can cover it up, and then we can proceed further. I'll see. Okay. So if you guys are all okay, you send me on WhatsApp if you can have one day of week time, right? So, or at least 2 days in the week, I can cover the number of days that we lost because of my health scenario, right? So we can cover in 1 week to speed up the program. Okay. So please feel free to ping me in the WhatsApp group if you're okay with any of the days, right? In the weekdays, then we can cover something. Okay.
Shekhar sir, I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
During the development time, is it necessary to wake warehouse always because we run everything